Hello my dear students, welcome back to the English class of 8th standard. So in the previous class, we were doing the chapter 1 from your English textbook, which is the best Christmas present in the world. So today, let us continue the lesson from the part 2, as we already learned in the previous class that the author went to a junk shop and he bought the roll top desk and started to repair it on the Christmas Eve. In the last drawer of that desk, author found a letter for Mrs. Jim Macpherson written by her husband, Mr. Jim Macpherson. Now let us continue and see what is written in that letter. Dearest Connie, I write to you in a much happier frame of mind because something wonderful has just happened that I must tell you about at once. So now Jim tells his wife Connie. Here the Connie is a wife of Mr. Jim Macpherson, who was in the first part of the lesson mentioned as Mrs. Jim Macpherson. Now here the Jim calling her wife as a Connie because her name is Connie. So Jim tells his wife Connie that something amazing has happened. He needed to tell that to her at once. Here the word at once means immediately. We were all standing in our trenches yesterday morning, Christmas morning. It was crisp and quite all about as beautiful a morning as I have ever seen, as cold and frosty as a Christmas morning should be. So here the Jim tells to her wife that they were standing in their trenches. Here the word trenches means a long deep ditches in the ground where the soldiers hide from the enemy. Here the ditches is the hole. Okay, so you can see in this picture. You can pause this video to see the pictures. So Jim says it was cold and frosty. Here the word frosty means freezing cold, as Christmas morning should have been. So it is as cold as the Christmas morning should have been. I should like to be able to tell you that we began it, but the truth I am ashamed to say is that Fritz began it. First, someone saw a white flag waving from the trenches opposite. Then they were calling out to us from across no man's land, "Happy Christmas, Tommy! Happy Christmas!" When we had got over the surprise, some of us shouted back, "Same to you, Fritz! Same to you!" So here Jim told her that the German soldiers began to show the white flag. Here the Fritz means here they are referring to a German soldier. It is a name of a German soldier. So commonly they are referring to all Germans as Fritz here. Right. The white flag here, the white color white shows a peace and harmony. That's why when they shows the white flag, it is just like they are calling in a peace. So by looking at it, we can understand there are two armies here on the borders. From one side there are German armies and other side there are British army, and both of them are already ready for the war in their trenches, but the day of Christmas has arrived. So on the Christmas day, there's the soldiers, the German soldiers especially, they decided to go for the peace, and they screamed, "Happy Christmas, Tommy! Happy Christmas!" Here the word Tommy, here it is a common English name used to refer the British soldiers. So that's why the Germans calling the British soldiers as the Tommy. The British soldiers were shocked to see the reaction, but after getting over their surprise, they also shouted back, "Same to you, Fritz, same to you." So like this, they wished each other. I thought that would be that. We all did, but then suddenly one of them was up there in his grey greatcoat and waving a white flag. "Don't shoot, lads!" someone shouted, and no one did. Then there was another Fritz up on the parapet, and another. "Keep your heads down," I told the men. "It's a trick, but it wasn't. So Jim noticed that German soldiers wearing a grey overcoat started to climb up the parapet. Here the word parapet means a low wall, right? By waving a white flag, these people started to coming off from that parapet. Jim thinks that it was a trick. He tells his soldiers to keep their heads down. But soon he realized that it was not a trick at all. One of the German was waving a bottle above his head. "It is Christmas Day, Tommy. We have schnapps. We have sausage. We meet you, yes?" By this time, there were dozens of them walking towards us, across no man's land, and not a rifle between them. Little Private Morris was the first up. "Come on, boys, what are we waiting for?" And then there was no stopping them. Here, the Germans has approached them with the bottles of schnapps. Here, the word schnapps is the German drink made from grain. Okay, and sausage. Here, sausage is a food made up of pound meat. Right. Slowly, dozens of German soldiers started walking towards them without any rifle or the gun. Rifle means gun. Little Private Morris. Here the word private means soldiers. So Little Soldier Morris was the first British soldier to come out and join the German soldiers to celebrate. Therefore, all of them got up and started to celebrate with each other. So there was no stopping of them. I was the officer. I should have stopped them there. And then, I suppose, but the truth is that it never even occurs to me. I should. All along their line and ours, I could see men walking slowly towards one another. Grey coats, khaki coats, meeting in the middle. And I was one of them. I was a part of this. In the middle of the war, we were making peace. So here Jim tells Connie that he just would not stop the soldiers as they started interacting and celebrating together. All that he could see was soldiers walking towards each other in grey coats. Here the grey coat refers to German soldiers and khaki coats. Here the khaki coat refers to the soldiers of British. And Jim also one of them. In the middle of the war, all of them were making peace. You cannot imagine, dearest Connie, my feelings as I looked into the eyes of Fritz officer who approached me. Hand outstretched. "Hans Ulf," he said, gripping my hand warmly and holding it. "I am from Dusseldorf. I play the cello in the orchestra. Happy Christmas." Here the Jim is talking about the German officer who approached him in the celebration. Here approach means to come towards, and outstretched, the word outstretched means extended. So this officer called himself Hans Ulf. His name was Hans Ulf. He shook Jim McPherson's hand warmly, held it tight. He told Jim that he is from Dusseldorf. The Dusseldorf is a place in German, and he played cello. Here the cello is the musical instrument like a large violin. Don't get confused with the pronunciation. It is cello, not cello, right? And the orchestra. Here the word orchestra means a group of musicians or band. And he wished the Jim a happy Christmas. "Captain Jim McPherson," I replied, "and a happy Christmas to you too. I am a school teacher from a Dorset in the west of England." So Jim McPherson also introduces himself and tells Hans Wolf he is a school teacher from a Dorset in the west of England. Now you all may be confused or thinking why musician and a school teacher working as a soldiers here, right? So during the First World War, all the men who were physically fit and young are deployed in the army. That means are needed to be participate in army, and it was compulsory for them to fight for their country in the war or during the wars. Ah, Dorset! He smiled. I know this place. I know it very well. We shared my rum, ration, and his excellent sausage. And we talked. Connie, how we talked, he spoke almost perfect English. But it turned out that he had never set foot in Dorset, never even been to England. He had learned all he knew of the England from school and from reading books in English. His favorite writer was Thomas Hardy. His favorite book, Far from the Madding Crowd. So out there in no man's land, we talk about Bathsheba and Gabriel Oak and Sergeant Troy and Dorset. He had a wife and son born just 6 months ago. Hansel said Jim that he knows Dorset very well without even visiting England. Jim tells Connie that they shared rum and sausage. Here, the word rum is another type of a drink. And they talked like old friends. Hanswolf told him that he learned a lot about England in his school and from his books. He spoke almost perfect English. He also told him that his favorite English author is Thomas Hardy and his favorite book was Far from the Madding Crowd. And he also talked about some of his favorite characters from that book, Bathsheba and Gabriel Oak and Sergeant Troy. So all of these are the characters who comes in the book, which is Far from the Madding Crowd. And Hanswolf also told him that he has a son 6 months old and also his wife in his family. As I looked about me, there were huddles of khaki and grey everywhere, all over no man's land, smoking, laughing, talking, drinking, eating. So the soldiers were in huddles. Here the word huddles means a group. Okay, all the soldiers from both sides come together. They celebrated the Christmas together by talking, laughing together, eating together, drinking, and enjoying. Hanswolf and I shared what was left from your wonderful Christmas cake, Connie. He thought the marzipan was the best he had ever tasted. I agreed. We agreed about everything, and he was my enemy. There never was a Christmas party like it, Connie. And Jim tells Connie that they also shared a Christmas cake that Connie has sent for him with the marzipan. Here, the word marzipan means a sweet covering on a cake made from a sugar, eggs, and almonds. You can even call it as a sweet baked dish. And Jim tells Connie Hans liked the marzipan most, and he also agrees. Both Hans and Jim agree to the everything, even though they are enemies. And finally, Jim says there was never a better Christmas party than this that he has ever been a part of. Alright, my dear students, we will stop for this paragraph only for today. In the next class, we will continue the next paragraphs and see what will happen next in the story and what is more written in the Jim's letter. Right? So till then, take care. Bye.